better. Thank you. So I will just introduce you in few slides what is NERIS. I will not go too much in detail, and then I will just try to emphasize some key points with regard to recovery and what we are going developing currently in terms of strategy for in this domain. So briefly, the objective of NERIS, you know, this is one of the research platforms in Europe dedicated to emergency and recovery response and preparedness. The objectives are briefly summarized here: improving the effectiveness and coherency of current approach, to identify further development needs, because this is basically a research network, although we also have some different organizations from authority and also from different stakeholders. The key point is also to improve the know-how and technical expertise in Europe, and to establish, this is a quite important point, to have a good network for establishing a forum for dialogue on different topics, and we try to organize different events for this purpose, and also to have some discussion on methodological development. Currently, we have 57 organizations from 28 different countries, essentially in Europe. I think we have only one organization outside Europe. And we have a system with 26 supporting organizations, which are the core of the NERIS platform. Our activities are mainly organized with different administrative aspects, but also with working group, and we have currently 3 main working groups. The first one, which has been established since the beginning, is dedicated to ICRP recommendations. So as I mentioned early, this is a key point, and we try to have regular contact with ICRP on this topic. The second working group is dedicated to the management of contaminated goods that was established after the Fukushima accident, with all the issues related to not really to set up some reference level, but what is at stake in terms of management, in terms of feedback experience, involvement of stakeholder, producer behavior, and so on. The last one has been established last year, is dedicated to information, participation, and communication. This is something which is really crucial and which have to be developed using both development of tools, analytical platform and so on, but also to really broadly discuss the stakeholder participation. Then we have some specific group from RODOS, which is the system which has been developed in the European framework some time ago. We have also a R&D committee, and I will give you some few points on the last development of the strategic research agenda, and we also organize some training courses on emergency and recovery. Briefly, I will not go in detail. You can find some more detailed publication and explanation of the project. Most of the activity is related to European research projects supported by the European Commission. I just give you a short list of some of them or recent projects. The one PREPARE project, which ended at the beginning of last year, dedicated to further development after the Fukushima accident. We had recently 3 opera projects, one dedicated on thyroid, another one on modelization, and the third one on health surveillance. You already got some presentation during the previous session this week. And the last element is also COMET project, developed by our colleague from Alliance, but with close interaction with NERIS. Currently, we have four projects under the CONCERT project, which is going on. The first one is confidence, coping with uncertainty, mainly related to improved modeling and decision-making in case of nuclear emergency. The second one is territories, which is currently developed to discuss with all aspects of existing exposure situation. The third one who start this month is chamois sensing, with further development on dosimetric medical and health surveillance. And the last one is still under negotiation, is broader than emergency, but it's engaged with discussion on social science and decision-making processes in radiation protection. So, moving to recovery issue, it's clear that the Fukushima accident largely affect the discussion, the research in Europe, and based on that we try to draw some key lessons. So it's not exhaustive, but it's just to give you some elements which have been identified within the NERIS platform. The first element is the importance of transparency of decision-making processes at the different level, at local, regional and national levels. This is something which seems to be quite important, and how to develop research in order to favor this element. The second one is the key role of the access to environmental monitoring at local, national and international level. This has been already identified after the Chernobyl accident, but it has been re-emphasized after Fukushima. Another point which is currently under development with confidence and territories is important to deal with uncertainty in both assessment and management of the different phases of the accident. Of course, the Fukushima accident has emphasized the role of modern social media and exchange in information, where there is a need to adapt all the organization with this new environment. The role of stakeholder involvement in processes is quite important, and we already discussed that last Tuesday. And of course, to better address societal, ethical, and economic aspects. This is also, we can see that quite recently in Fukushima with all the compensation system and which affect largely the implementation of countermeasures. And finally, the need to reinforce education and training for various actors. This is a key point, and this is one element that we discuss with other platforms within concert. In order to achieve all these elements, we have updated our strategic research agenda. The new version of the strategic research agenda will be published in the following weeks on the NERIS website with 3 challenge areas and 10 key topics. I will not detail the key topics. You will be able to get more detail on the website. The 3 challenges are, first of all, the radiological impact assessment during all phases. The second one deals with countermeasures and countermeasure strategies in the different phases and decision support and disaster informatics. And the third one is what we call the transdisciplinary and inclusive framework for preparedness or emergency and recovery. Based on that, we have tried to identify what is a vision and what could be the key point for the future. And we are now ready to publish our roadmap. It will be available also in the following week. And I just quoted some few elements which are mainly relevant for recovery. The first point is to provide increased capability to assess the different situations with improved modeling, monitoring, and data assimilation. The second point is really related to the implementation of optimization, and this is something that we regularly discuss with ICRP, notably improved decision-making using analytical platform, knowledge database, but also integrating the different facets of the decision-making process. To have better knowledge on countermeasures and countermeasure strategy, and notably the key point in which way to address the transition phase and the long-term phase, which have not been largely developed in the past. The other element is, as already mentioned, the key point of stakeholder engagement process, and in which way we can develop guidance framework for establishing this successful engagement. The new emerging element which is now called citizen science in radiological risk governance, in which way the evaluation, the monitoring, the collection of data, the involvement of stakeholders in producing science can be better addressed, and this is something which is a great challenge, how to deal with that, and how the experts in radiation protection has to organize this integration of citizen science. Improving health surveillance programs, this is something which is also at stake, which have been largely discussed with colleagues from Fukushima, and I'm sure that Professor Tanigawa will come back on that in the next presentation. Improving the management of food and also non-food products from contaminated areas, which is quite important. And finally, better addressing ethical, societal, and economic aspects in the decision-making processes. In practice, we have some key points for the NERIS platform. First of all is to reinforce the joint research at European level, because all the challenges that have been identified are not isolated. This is something that we have to work together with all the research in radiation protection community. To engage dialogue and consultation, the objective is not to do research for research, but really to develop the dialogue with the different stakeholders, with the authority, with international organization, but also with different NGO and different stakeholders who are involved in preparedness for emergency and recovery. And also to consolidate the connection with organizations involved in the management of Chernobyl and Fukushima, notably with ICRP, but also with Japanese colleagues, and we try to establish some different cooperation. And at the end, the key points, the main vision that we have is, of course, to favor the harmonization of emergency and recovery approach in Europe. Maybe it's not to have one unified approach and centralized approach, not at all, but really to favor this harmonization and exchange within Europe, and NERIS has to play a key role in this domain. To conclude, I just would like to advertise the next NERIS workshop, which will be organized in April next year in Dublin. So you will find very soon the announcement for this workshop, and you are welcome to submit abstract and to come to discuss with the NERIS community. Thank you.